Oh my God, how long do I know Maria?
How long have we known each other? Shit, it's 16 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, 2003.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy how many people have come and gone, and kind of like what we were talking about before the podcast started with the that 18-month kind of rule where people show up and they try to make it here, and then and then it seems they either do or they leave.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
So hey, look at it like this. 18th month rule for a lot of these people, we're getting close to 18 years.
I know.
That's pretty
weird.
crazy. Holy shit. You've been endorsed by Steinway for quite a while.
Not really saying endorsement is a little bit more trickier. I was performed when I was little, and that was under Steinway's commission. And when that is before they have it. Right now it calls Young Artist Program, but it was before then. And long story short was I really feel more of not on stage. I'm not a stage person. I realized that. And just to simplify it to become a real the simple kid, it was easier for me. And when I come here, I always know what I want to do. Even when I was in MI, I know exactly what I want to do. And I knew I want to have a school. I know exactly how I want is structured, the class and everything. I have a plan already. So
how did you is this something that you saw from other schools, other places, or did you just, this is something that you completely internalized?
It sounds terrible, but it's almost like I have a very, 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 very strict piano teacher when I was little. My first piano teacher, everything you can think of an Asian piano teacher, she qualified for every single stereotype.
Okay.
And get to a point, even my mother think it was inappropriate.
Oh, really? Like that strict?
Right,
okay.
right.
Wow.
And I always remember she was always being very... Right now as an adult, I feel like it was really inappropriate. It's very...
Do you have any examples that you could use of anything that would be
she literally broke my finger.
Oh, wow. With
my finger... Okay, so now my finger is straight. You see my pinky?
Yeah.
Because my hand was too small. My hand too small. I couldn't reach the octave.
Oh, okay.
So she bent it, and I remember I was 5 years old. I hear pop.
Yeah.
And it never came back.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. And my mom, I remember my mom sat right next to me and she just walked out. My mom didn't say anything. She just, you had to remember back then the culture, and especially Asian culture.
It's one thing that I'd actually be interested to segue real quick on is, I grew up with an understanding that what you're talking about is kind of a stereotype that does exist in a lot of the Asian cultures. And one of the reasons why Asians are thought to achieve more than a lot of other cultures in the world. And nowadays there's a lot of this, you're stereotyping shit. But this is a real thing. This is a real way it was. So I think it's insane that people are like, don't be stereotypical, don't do it. It's like, don't what? Don't call out the way that the world is? It's kind of weird, but not saying it's right. I mean, this is kind of crazy.
For me, I never... I joke about this all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, all my student parents know about this. I joke about this all the time. I personally, I feel I'm a definition of a Pacific Islander. Yeah. I spent 18, 19 years in Taiwan, and I spent almost the same amount of time in America now. Yeah. Part of me. So it's like if I go back to Taiwan, every time I went back to visit, I know my parents they think I'm really weird, and all my childhood friends, they were like, oh my god, they know, they told me, like, you're such American, do you realize it? And this year I also went to Japan, and I saw a very long time, a long-term friend, a family friend, in fact. I haven't seen them for maybe more than 10 years now.
Yeah.
And I start to notice how different I am become. Like, I am a very different person in a way, like culture-wise and stuff like that. So for Taiwanese or Japanese people, they see me. I know they see me more like American.
Yeah.
More
you
than
might as well be an American now.
Yes, yes. And but when I'm here, for example, when I'm teaching, I can hear myself. I'm thinking, oh my God, that sounds very Asian.
Yeah,
but it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, no, and it shouldn't. But yeah, you are kind of in a weird spot that way, right? Because you're not what you grew up as, but you're not a stereotypical American who grew up here, particularly in California.
Right.
I personally think it's probably advantageous to you. I mean, you talk about how people see those differences, but it means you're able to adapt and recognize a fuller spectrum.
Right, and also I think my school also, I am trying to have a place that is literally multicultural. And just in this right now, we have 5 teachers, and also one more teacher is gonna start this Saturday. Actually, he will be the only American currently in my school. We have me. We have one. I think she's originally from Russia, and then one she's Armenian, and then one is German. One is from UK.
Okay.
So
it's good diversity.
It is, and I enjoyed it, and I think that's definition of LA.
Well, it also helps too, like when you have people come in. There's, let's be honest. Certain people do have hold certain stereotypes in their minds and stuff, and somebody may. I'm just going to use an example. Say somebody for whatever reason doesn't feel comfortable studying with that German teacher.
Right.
You have 4 other choices.
Exactly.
And so they can basically pick the one that's closest to what they feel.
Right. And also it's not just culture. If you think of, I mean obviously you grew up in the Bay Area, you hear all that, but let's say if someone grew up in Midwest and come to LA, trust me, I really don't think they will be completely. I don't know. I just feel like they will still have their own culture, whatever they grew up in their household. That's how they think and it's how they react and all that. So it's not just international people having that stereotype, but also inside America there was like New Yorker and Steinway. It was so many people are from New York.
Well, I can actually prove your point with me personally. I was born in Berkeley, at home in the 1970s during free love, the most liberal place ever, right? But then I went and joined the army.
Right.
I travel around the world.
Right.
I got to see the way the world really works.
Yeah.
And while I appreciate this whole idea of free love and all that, I realize that there's a lot of costs that are associated with having these freedoms.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is a little scary right now, the way things are going politically in the U.S. And like, as a foreigner, I think you could probably understand, like, I don't understand this push to take away freedoms, to cut down on what people can say and censorship and stuff. Right. Because this, by allowing us to be able to communicate however we can, it means that I can use whatever facets to communicate with whoever I'm talking to, wherever they're from.
Right.
If I just limit my speech, I'm not able to, it hinders my ability to do that.
Right.
And so, especially when you take it into the platform of the school, you want to be able to have as many people for the students to choose from that are able to communicate in any ways so they can find the best person for them.
Yes. And not only that, I think to be honest, I don't think there's gonna be many music school. I don't know how the size of what we have. I don't know how many is out there who really is just doing everything by one person only. Most of the time has maybe a family do it together or a couple do it together or a business partner and stuff like that. So my way of management, I feel like instead of making everything about me, it should be everything about us. Yeah. So I refer a lot, like email replying to the parents or something. I use a lot of we. us instead of me.
It's good to help build the camaraderie of the team.
Yeah.
It's for them to feel like they're a part of the team, not subservient to.
And also that's maybe being a very more Americanized.
It is.
More.
I can see that. Sure.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I know my dad will not do. My dad is in the management position before he retired, and he will never use that kind of phrase. I know that I can hear him.
Yeah.
His voice. Do not do that. But I just feel like it's. I mean, nobody's gonna read my email. I'm sure none of my teachers gonna read my email. I'm pretty sure none of them know that I use we a lot. But I think it's a reminder for myself, knowing I will not able. There's no way I will be able to do this to do this by myself.
Yeah.
The reason I can do this is because I have a good team. I really have a good team, and I will back them up. And that's something when they always have, not a lot, thank God, knock on wood, we don't have a lot of conflicts between
interpersonally,
or anything that we really had to deal with parents and all that. A lot of student parents and come in. Most of them they are very very understanding and things like that. We make mistakes sometimes, but usually we can fix it right away.
Well, it's a human thing to make mistakes. It's how you handle it afterwards that really determines the person, or in this case, the corporation or the business. Yeah, and how.
Right. But to be safe is, I think, because they know this is a team, I told my staff all the time, if anything happened, let's say if a parent complain about anything, I know how my dad or my mom will handle it, because I've seen that in my entire childhood, so I know what they do. But I don't think that I want to use that as my style of leadership.
You don't feel it would be as productive as you would want it to be, or
right? I feel like I want to hear what is happening. You tell me what happened, and I hear the parents tell me what happened, and sometimes it is our fault. And a lot of time, there are times that I feel I apologize more than I do anything wrong. It's most of the time when things happen or make mistake, I didn't do it. Yeah. It's someone else, and maybe my staff, maybe something happened. But because we are the team, so
but you're the one taking responsibility for it as a leader.
Yes, and I will try my best to comfort the other party, or talk to my staff and saying, this is what we're gonna do. Sometimes I am making my assistant or someone to say, you know what, it is more appropriate you just call him and say, I'm sorry, I messed up, or I made a mistake of something, instead of finding other way to cover it up, or let's use this term, it sounds a little bit nicer, you know.
I'm not a big fan of covering. So, well, you know who I am. I'm the type of person I like to take care of it bluntly right there.
Right. And I mean, for me, I know there are things and times I probably can use other way to kind of sugarcoat it or shape that
a little more tact, so to speak.
Right. But personally, I just don't want to.
Well, I think there's something to be said for candid honesty, as long as you're not doing any direct damage.
Right.
And also, I see what you're explaining, your management style, was exactly how my management style was when I was running Kinko's branch.
Yeah, I remember.
Where it was, all right, we're in it together, and the way that I tended to get my team to do stuff that was their job, if I saw them not doing it, I would go over and start doing it.
Yeah.
They would see me doing their job, and oftentimes they'd come over. Right. Also, when you talk about, there's a mistake that would be made, unless it's very specifically one person did one thing and they had to take care of it, I would do whatever I can to cover them, to shield them in a way that moves everything forward productively. Yeah. And
I think also most importantly, it is a small company. We are not anything huge. And when I interview people, when I hire them, that means put the trust in them.
What are some of the things? Because I think this could be beneficial to some people who are trying to secure a job, teaching at either academy, a music store, probably not a conservatory. There's a lot more to it. But say, well, let's just use the Piano Academy. What do you expect, and what do you see when people come? Both the pros and the cons.
Okay, so first, you really have to have a very updated resume. When I'm hiring or putting ads about, it's very few times that I actually have to put on ads to hire people. A lot of time I actually received out of nowhere that people are interested to teach, and a lot of time, there are times if you email us, or a lot of time with what happens, people call, ask if we're hiring. Most time we're not, and they just don't send resumes.
They just disappear then instead of being like, "Can I give you?"
Right, but that's not very smart.
So you recommend that if somebody calls and asks, "Can I give you a resume?"
Do it anyway. Do it anyway, and if you're in an area, I have happened before. I have a great teacher. She moved. Right now, she's not teaching with us. She moved back to New York, but I remember that when she came in, she literally just came in and gave me the resume. And I was not looking for the teacher at the time. And that time I just started a company not long after. I didn't know if I.
So you're kind of in the infancy of your academy at the time.
But when she was like, she had everything ready, and I was just thinking, oh wow,
Here's somebody who's squared away.
Yeah, and I have I think I just have talked with her, and next thing I know, I forgot. I think one of the teacher, actually, I didn't know that she gave me 2 weeks notice. Here we go.
We got it right there. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you are really looking for a teaching job, first you really want to like this teaching job. You should not do this just because you don't have other choice.
No. Okay.
Okay, that's definitely something. Before you put the resume, ask yourself, you really like to teach. Because if you only do this so to pay your paycheck or whatever the bill that you are paying, not just you're gonna suffer, your students gonna suffer. Okay, I remember when I told my piano teacher that I want to teach more than perform. Both my piano teacher and my mentor, their first reaction is, that is bigger job, way heavier job. Than
more responsibility,
else.
Sure.
Yes, especially I specifically tell them, I'm very interested of fundamental education. I remember my piano teacher, she took a deep breath. She was like, teach college kids a little bit easier. You know that, right? So if you really want to teach, you really want to like this job. Otherwise, really, you will hate it every second.
Funny thing is, it's funny you said that, because I found it a lot easier teaching at MI and working with the kids at that age than my students now. Range from 4 to 69 years old. The 4-year-old, just to keep, if I can keep him playing the same beat for 20 seconds straight.
That's
before just going off on any, I did pretty good. And this, I got a 4-year-old that can actually keep a beat.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's like, how long is that?
So exactly. So that's something that is, so you really have to, so it depends on which level, which stage of the students that you want to. So first, you need to ask yourself if you really want to teach. Second is, what kind of student you want to teach. So, when I doing my interview, a lot of time I see those resumes, I know they're either overqualified or they have no experience with younger students or beginner students. You can tell they say, yes, I do, but they don't.
Yeah.
Don't lie, just say that you don't.
Yeah.
And what happened is, when you are overqualified, at least from my end, my thinking is how long you're gonna stay.
That's the general consensus. When 2008, when we hit the recession and everything, that was a huge part of the problem. People with masters, PhDs aren't able to get jobs because as soon as the economy comes back, these people are going to leave that job to go back to the job that's paying them 3, 4, 5 times as much.
And I proved myself right because we just recently have same situation when I saw her resume. That was the same thing. She sent her resume, and I remember because the resume was so good, and I feel I need to give her an interview. So I have her come in. No, and thinking about I'm not sure if I need a new teacher.
Yeah.
But who knows? Few days after that,
better to be prepared.
Right. One of my teacher gave me 2 days notice.
Oh, that's nice of them.
That was great, and I had no choice. But wait, here we go. I had just interviewed somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had her come in, but I knew in my heart I don't think that's gonna last long, and I was right. She started July. Recently, I had to let her go. Okay. And she was prepared to go already anyways. So it wasn't come to a surprise. I didn't let her go. She need to go too. So it was always that situation. So when you apply for things like teaching, you really, 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 please, really, you need to know if you want to teach. No. If you know this is not for you, then try harder for something else.
Let me add to that. Also, given that example you used too with the overqualification, also be real about what your own worth is, and don't take something that's below what you're going to be willing to do.
Right.
Because you're going to let other people down, and ultimately too, it can also come back to kick you in your own ass.
Absolutely.
If you get enough of these where a situation happens like that, if you irritate a couple people,
exactly,
and now
it's not good. And this is a small world, so we're gonna run into each other.
The music world, even here in LA,
it's funny. Yeah. I think that's important, and we have. So when you send out the resume, make sure that is the updated one. And we have when I in the beginning when I start my company, I give a lot of benefit of the doubt because I not say I second doubt myself. I just feel like maybe I'm too harsh. I'm so much more like my dad. So I kind of like, okay, even with a bad resume, I will interview them, and end up I was always right.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you don't have time to prepare a resume, you didn't care for this job, and and that means that when you come in, I know I'm not gonna hire you, right? And for the resume, also just really make sure that it's very clear. It doesn't have to be fancy. As nowadays have so many things already preset already. You just need to put it on and clean, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Sometimes we see resume are really overdone.
My mom was a business career consultant. So that's one of the things she helped doing.
Yeah.
And so I got to see that growing up and realizing how resumes are written. Then also working at Kinko's, that's one of the things we provided was that. And I'm a firm believer that if you have over a page, you're overwriting your stuff. You need to break it down. You need to be clear. You need to be more concise. Yeah. And also leave a bit there. Just say enough to get them interested. Get into the interview, like you said, and then dump all the even better stuff on. Then you can explain it. You don't need to explain it all in a paragraph there.
And another thing is, so once this is the process that I do, I know there are many different methods or many different way of HR people want to do it. The way I do it is I will read the resume, and then I'll decide whether I will want to call or interview this person. I usually call first because I feel like teaching, not just teach, but also the voice too. I can
kind of like a phone interview before the actual.
Absolutely, doesn't matter if it's a position for the assistant or
I remember
teaching.
a while you were looking for a front office worker a while ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So similar thing. It was exactly the same thing. Teaching as well. I can use exactly the same word, saying, do it again, or do it again. It sounds very different, right? And some people have that kind of tone. And I have to...
It's funny because those are the same people that you could text them something totally innocuous, and they'll take that tone as being the tone that they put out too. And like,
yeah.
one of the scary things about writing something, and I'm like, you can read it however you want to read it.
Teaching is a very interesting thing. This is something I personally, I think I had to admit, I have a tendency of laugh of everything. Every little thing can be funny to me.
Yeah.
So I will sometimes I will even say to my student, they play something I just did a few days ago. One of my students played. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And I just looked at her. I say, that sounds awful. And then she looked at. I literally say that to her with this face. I said, that was awful. And she said, I know. I said, my ear hurts. But if I use a completely different tone, that was awful. And the kid's gonna cry, right?
Well, I just a couple weeks ago when I told one of the kids, okay, that's great. Now do it right.
Right? Exactly.
That's cool what you're doing, and then you now do it the right way.
Yeah. So you
I could be like, that's cool.
Right.
Now why don't you do it the right way?
Right.
It's not gonna help anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now the kids feel like you are pulling them down, right? And one of my teacher, I feel for her. I think she's a wonderful teacher, but she has this. Her tone is way stronger. And I've listened to her class before because the way I set up my office is I can hear them. Yeah. If I sit in the office, I can hear all three rooms. I know what they are doing, and this is the thing amazing about perfect pitch.
Right, yeah.
It's the only thing I really am. This is the only time I'm proud of my perfect pitch thing. Otherwise, sometimes I feel like this is just overrated. It drives me nuts sometimes. Like it's supposed to be F sharp, it's not F sharp, and then but the kids are playing the 3 times still not F sharp, and I'll just knock on the door with F sharp, please, and look at the teacher. I'm sorry, I don't want to be that kind of person, that kind of boss, but so because that, and I can overhear their conversation or piece little bit, and I can hear
So is your let me ask this. This is a segue out real quick, but as far as your pitch goes, so I know, especially when it comes to like stringed instruments, right?
Yeah.
The F sharp is technically a little bit higher of a note than a G flat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it'd be like, so is it where you're
String
like,
is hard
it's
for
like,
me.
hey, it's an F sharp, not a G flat.
I don't know. That's a good question. I think sometimes it's like let's say I can just say the notes really quick, and then maybe that's the reason why sometimes I would say instead of F sharp I say G flat, because maybe that's just slightly different.
Inflection.
Yeah. I think the overtone can bothers me more is guitar, acoustic guitar.
Well, yeah, because now you're talking about tuning and articulation at the same and so that's a that's a whole new world for me. Well, yeah, I could see that being challenging, and especially like you said, being in your office area, you can hear everything and all of that, and God forbid you have a couple different things going on at one time, and I'm happy I don't have perfect.
But that doesn't bother me.
No?
That actually, it's surprisingly that doesn't bother me, and it's never an issue. It was just more like I can hear it. So maybe because my ear, I'm more sensitive of how even teacher talked, and so when you pick, that happens a lot. Is once I see the resume, I thought it was pretty good, and I call this person. I had before is the person say, oh, for example, I say, oh, I'm calling from where, and then this, I forgot, it's a teacher or assistant. I think it's teacher. He or she says, where? Huh? And I was just thinking, yeah, I kind of don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
Things like this. If you send out a resume, if you decide to pick up the phone, you have decision. You can leave this person to leave a voicemail and call them back when you are mentally ready or whatever in the right place.
I do that most of the time. Most of the time, if I know there's a call coming and all that I'm going to be responding to, I'll generally let it go through, listen to the voicemail, and prepare because I want to be able to handle things specifically and be. I just want to be prepared.
Right, and then we will not. You don't have to pick up the phone right away. You can call us back, and I will still feel good about it. But if you pick up the phone, like, huh? Which school? Huh? What? And just. So just this little thing, I'm being very picky on it.
Well, no, I think it's a valid point too. If you're actually, say, trying to get a job at 5 schools, you might want to know the different numbers to be looking for who might call you, and you may not want to put it out there. Oh yeah, I'm applying for 5 different schools, because they might be like, okay, well,
right.
Even if I hire you, maybe you'll get a call the next day with the better deal over
here.
So it's similar to the overqualification thing.
Exactly.
Make it seem like they want to be there.
Right. Even if we can tell if it's true or not.
Yeah.
So you don't have to make it sound like it's a big deal, but just prepare yourself and do your homework. Really, just write down. No, it's not like that difficult.
Yeah.
But when you come to the interview, dress appropriately.
It seems like it goes without saying, but even at Kink, because I had to do a lot of hiring and even a little bit of firing at Kinko's.
Right.
It blew my mind, some of the things that I just would assume that.
Right.
What are you doing? Showing up at an interview in shorts? Heck, when do I not wear shorts? It's a struggle to get me into pants.
Right.
God damn, I couldn't tell you a single fucking interview I've ever been to.
You know what? You're right. I know you for all those times. Yeah, you were right.
Yeah. But you know what? But I always wear pants when it's appropriate.
But at least for the interview. Then you can kind of see the environment. Like, for example, I just came from work, so I'm not super dressed up. For my dad's standard, this is not a good outfit for work.
Yeah.
But for my dad of that generation, I supposed to wear a full suit.
Yeah.
Because that's all my piano teacher, how they dressed. But at the interview, you want to kind of go up a little bit. And for myself too, actually,
I'll go ahead and not say you kind of want to. I'm going to say you should.
You really should.
You want to show the people, even if that's not your standard way of being, you want to show the people that you are willing to go above and beyond when it's needed. Because it may not be the everyday thing, but maybe there's going to be a couple situations we'll take your academy. There's going to be a special client coming in. There's going to be a special recital or something.
Yeah.
Whatever it happens to be. It's like, you're not going to be able to dress like that. It's going to be expected to have professional attire.
And be honest to you, I feel that is being respectful as well.
I concur.
And even myself, when I know I have an interview that day, I'm not dressed like this. I myself, I will dress a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
I have a student the other day. I know I have to go through an interview, so I dress up a little bit more. I don't wear a skirt very often, but that day I did. Mm. And my student looked at me, Miss Vivian, do you have a date? I said, no, I have an interview to do. So that for me, I show my respect to people who come in to interview. But when I show my respect and you look like this, I'm thinking,
Yeah. Well, I think this is good for
the
millennials that are coming up. They're basically told you can do whatever you want. Everybody's going to be accepted. It's like, that's fine, but you're going to get into the real world if you live long enough. And
I know if I say that, some people is going to disagree, and some people are going to think I'm old-fashioned or whatever name they're going to put. That's fine. So whatever you think is okay when you become a boss, then you do that. Yeah. But right now, not yet.
Well, this is more tailored to people who want to get the job. I mean. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's obviously there's the next step of opening it, and that's
and that's say I'm a super hippie person, and I really didn't care of it, and I came in with my shorts and my sandals and do an interview and you dress up, I will still feel like you take this job very seriously. It would not go too far, but too bad, you know. But if it's the other way around,
no, exactly. You could always be like, hey, man, you know, dress a little more casually. I don't want the rest of the workers. Or you might be like, hey, you know, that's great. Maybe it'll be a good reflection for other people. But you flip that coin.
That would be completely different. So I know it sounds a little bit 101, but
common sense is something that seems to be fading in our culture.
Yeah.
And so it's I don't think that it's bad to point out things that we think are common sense.
And speak of common sense, do not be late.
Oh, Jesus.
Do not be late. Recently, I had to go through a interview. I got a lot of resume, but I ended up actually only interviewing in person maybe three people, and I ended up hiring 2.
Cool.
Okay.
What happened with the third one?
Right. I knew you were gonna ask, and this is a funny story. He was the one actually I thought overqualified. Okay. But
you're talking about before coming into
before he coming in, right?
Okay.
So when I saw his resume, he has a PhD from NYU.
Okay.
In fact, I was not.
Is that the New York Observatory?
From New York, University of New York.
Oh, university. Okay.
Yeah, and for performance actually, and then when I called him, actually I was not planning to have him come in. I was calling him to tell him to. I want to talk to him, but I also feel like he deserves a person to tell him I'm sorry.
You felt because you felt like, is this because you felt like he was overqualified right out the gate and recent conversation about that week? Okay.
Right. I feel that, and in fact, most of the time, even I don't think that it's gonna work out. I still call them. This is me being me.
Hey man, that's you being respectful right there.
I feel like you know, it doesn't matter what it is. It's all our colleague in a way, you know.
Yeah.
So I call anyways, but that person I was actually not having him coming for an in-person interview because we don't think that's gonna work out because I had a previous experience many times about things like that. But on the phone, he was so on it.
Yeah,
you know,
so
he was very, very pumped for that. And I really feel bad. I didn't even say anything. I just feel like, okay, at least give him
at least at that point, maybe it's the sort of thing where he'd show up and even if he's overqualified, he just loves the job so much that he's going to be the guy. He might end up being your number 2 down the road sort of thing. So yeah,
Exactly. So I feel
you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot by not taking the chance.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I really think that was, at least he deserved a in-person interview, right?
Yeah.
So I had him, we scheduled the interview, and I forgot, it was 5 minutes before the time. I think he called the office that he will be late because he need to stop by to get gas.
Okay, that's weird to tell people. Here's one thing. I think if you have to call people to let them know, hey, I'm going to be a little bit late, don't go into details. Just say, I'm really sorry. I'm going to be a little bit late. Here's how long.
Yes.
Is that okay? And leave it at that. Anything else, you have the possibility of digging yourself in a hole. But anyway.
So he called, and I remember I was teaching, and I usually do is I leave myself a little room before, because I kind of don't like, it's me being me.
Just go from one to the next.
Right, I kind of don't, especially if it's students, I had to do back to back. I'm used to it already. But from this into interview, I usually give myself a little bit more room. I also, because I need to refresh my memory, who am I interviewing with. Yeah. I'm doing my homework.
Yeah, you want to do your research and be prepared just like you expect them to be.
Yeah.
And let's face it, they should be more prepared than you.
Right, but
you're doing
I'm
this
the
already
person that, so when you come in, I already know who you are, and I know your background. I just need to, I need to refresh my memory. Oh, I know who you are, you know? So I usually leave myself about 10-15 minutes of a bathroom break, and I need to talk to my staff for other things, and all I read through the resume. So I always do that. So when I walked out the classroom, and my assistant told me that this person was, I think, called, and he said he needed to get gas. I looked at her, and I literally said, do you think I care? And I said, I'm so sorry. And I right away said, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But do you think I care? And then she's like, yeah. I think he said he's going to be 10 minutes late.
Which goes back to what I was saying. You don't care why or any of that shit. How late are you going to be? All right. Because that's all that matters. Time is money. How much of your time is he going to be wasting? Right. Or whoever it is going to be wasting.
Right. And then I forgot was how long it gone by. I think it's 15 minutes later. My assistant asked me, should we call him back? I'm like, sure.
Wait, because he said he was going to be 10 minutes late, so
15 minutes later,
now it's 15 minutes. Okay.
He didn't call him. Nothing happened. No show. No more phone. My assistant called him back. No, he didn't pick up the phone. So, and it happened before. Actually, that kind of thing happened before. That people say they're gonna be late and they end up didn't show up.
Yeah.
Okay, that happened multiple times. So I'm like, I looked at my assistant. I don't think he's gonna show up.
That seems so silly, but whatever. You know,
okay,
but those are different people, not our type of people.
No, but it actually happened many times. Okay, so in my mind, I thought, yeah, he's not gonna come. Okay, guess what? 30 minutes later, he showed up. And he showed up, he was da-da-da-da-da. Really, he showed up like nothing happened. He said, oh, the traffic here is very bad. I'm thinking, really? And again, do you think I care? No. But he already showed up. And I happily have a cancellation, so I didn't have student coming right away.
Yeah.
Since he was there,
So you luckily had time for him.
Yes, I said, why don't we do that? And I actually was not so happy about it already. And
well, I can imagine. Come on.
He talked about himself for non-stop about 10-15 minutes. Again, when you sit down, don't talk. Let me ask you a question, then you answer. It would be really nice. Not start talking about the weather, talk about traffic, talk about everything. Oh, I wanted to, and then just jump into, I really want this job. I'm doing
It's almost like the legal sort of thing where it's like, don't give more information than they're asking for. Sit there, hear the question, give a concise answer. If they want you to give more or to,
Yeah, and trust me, I don't think he has ADD because I've seen people with ADD. I don't think so. I think he's just very in his own world. Okay? Well, I really don't think he was...
A narcissist?
No, he was not. He was definitely functional. Okay? And he was... maybe I'm wrong, but really, it doesn't give me any sign of it. Okay? And so... He talked about himself for 10-15 minutes. I know that because I was watching my watch. I was looking at my clock. And I was thinking, when are you going to stop?
Yeah.
Right? And then I say very little. Just hear kind of a little phrases or somewhere they will say, oh, that was interesting. Oh, why are you doing that? Oh, how long have you been teaching? And here we go. So then he was talking about his teaching experience, and which was great, all that. Told me a lot of stories about how he got those jobs. He was... I say, oh wow, you I forgot what it was. Like he was have some couple years off. That it was a big gap from his previous job, right? And I asked questions. He said, I was traveling. I was in Europe, and I come back here. I was doing it. I was invited to do this and that. And it was all very, very fancy stuff. Great. But why are you bringing to my school? So at the end of it, I say to him, it seems like I think you're overqualified for this job. Have you thought about why you applied for this job? Because I don't know how many experience that you have to teach beginner students now along with the young students. Yeah. And then he said, I can definitely do that. And if you want me to teach you a new method, I can definitely do it. And he said, again, here we go again. I know that then in that spot, I know he's a talker.
Yeah.
He's a salesperson more than a musician. It's like, I feel like I literally walk into a car...
used car lot.
Right.
Or he's trying to sell himself to you. Instead of selling a car, he's trying to sell himself.
Right.
But he's overdoing it.
Right. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, some lessons 30 minutes, some lessons 45 minutes, some lessons 1 hour. Most of the students who are in the beginners 30 minutes. Are you going to talk for the now 20 minutes? Or are they actually going to teach?
Yeah.
Right? So that is my thought. Now, okay, another part, like once when I think he kind of sensed that I'm not gonna hire him.
Yeah.
I give him any signs about thinking, you know what, I really don't think. I think you're better off to do what. Okay, so I actually give him suggestion of looking for maybe university or community college. You want to study PhD.
You're basically trying to give me, like, here's some other jobs you may be more interested in other
Right,
than this one.
Right. And
It's a tactful way of saying, yeah, it's not going to happen.
right. And I try to be gentle,
Sure.
and you never know.
A new kind of gentle or Vivian.
more passive aggressive. You never know which one.
Fair enough.
Right. So this is something. Once you, that is something that I've never happened before, but that was first, but that was very interesting. So I think he sensed that I'm not gonna hire him. The next thing he said, he just looked at me and he just all of a sudden he's kind of leaned back on the couch and then he's a little chubby, so he was putting his
hands on his.
Yeah.
I could try to do it. It take me a lot to do that.
Yeah. How I don't. It's very natural. It doesn't look gross. Okay, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But he just, I don't know. He looked very chill.
But just everything just kind of let go.
Right.
Sort of thing
And
where
then
it's
he
like,
was
all right.
Right, and then he said, "So, are you single?"
In an interview?
Yes.
All right, people. That is what not to fucking do.
Right.
Don't do it. I mean, I guess at that point, if he must have decided in his mind that he's not going to do the job. It wasn't even that you're going to hire him or not. He had to have decided that he's not going to do it, even if you offered it. Otherwise, you can't. Come on, dude. You can't be. If he has a PhD, it's hard to imagine that he's that. Don't get me wrong. I grew up. My parents both with PhDs.
Right.
I've met doctors that are very intelligent in their field and incredibly stupid in the essence of life and how it works.
Right.
So this guy could be that, but that just seems
a little off. Right.
Yeah. The only way I see that happen is he's like, all right, you know what? I'm not going to take this job even if they offer.
Right.
It. Hey, what up? You want to go? You want to hook up?
I was thinking, huh? I just paused and I think. I looked at him. I just no comments.
Well, that's a weird thing because here's the problem.
And be honest with you, I was a little scared.
It would be unprofessional to respond to that in any way other than moving on.
Yeah, I was a little scared. Be honest to you.
Yeah.
I mean, there are moments that it's interesting, like as a female business owner or anything, especially teaching. I mean, even teaching too. I remember when I started, I used to go to students' houses and all that. I only teach students who I know or from referral because I had experience going to people's house and the mom was totally nice, but the dad is creepy. So I'm very sensitive about things like that, so I really backed up really quickly.
Yeah, well, you had some intuition going on.
Yeah, I know what's coming up, so I'm like, I will do it right.
Shut that shit down.
Oh yeah, so it's just something that even if you joke about, if you think that's a joke, even if you think that's a joke, or that say if you feel like I can be a friend with this person. I don't know why.
It doesn't matter. You know what, dude? He should have left, and then anything that happens after that, even if it was later that day, this is absolutely not what he should have done. But leave and call you back a couple hours later and be like, hey, I don't think the job's gonna work out, but I got to tell you, I thought you were a very attractive woman, and I would love to take you out to dinner sometime if you're willing to do that.
Right. So. Timing is very interesting. That's nothing about interview, but maybe dating 101.
It's a totally separate issue.
Right. Yeah. So it was.
But nothing changes the fact it's completely inappropriate for an interview.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So things like that. You think it's common sense, but sometimes it's interesting that we probably had to point out.
Common sense and preparation.
Yeah.
That's
be prepared, really. And if you know yourself very well before you go into this interview, you will enjoy this environment. You're gonna enjoy this work. And usually, interview shouldn't go too bad, really. Especially, we are in the field is a very specific some kind of profession. So it's not like a job in I don't know, Starbucks, and I don't know how they go through their interview, but it's something. It's very specific. No. So if you're well prepared, there are times that I know the teacher is not gonna fit my philosophy of teaching, and that can happen. Yeah. But it's not a bad interview. It was just I know that maybe the personality is not gonna work.
Different points of view. It's not going to work for
method,
your students, whatever happens to be.
Or the teaching method is not working. For example, we don't teach you with Suzuki method. Because I don't believe that. That's a different story. But if you are a Suzuki method teacher, and I mean, for me, I won't interview you at all because I know that's not gonna work. But let's say if you didn't specific that what kind of method you're using, but when you come into an interview and I find out you're using Suzuki method, and I'll probably say, yeah, I actually don't use that. But that's not a bad interview. Yeah. You just
you have a platform for a conversation at that point. You can productively move forward with the possibility of having them come on anyway. Despite that, well, okay, here's the one thing you're doing that we don't do here, but everything. Yeah.
Right. So all those things are very. I'm not sure. For me, I feel like that's very common. That's a common mistake. But that also is a lot of common sense in there. Yeah.
Well, I try not to count on people to have common sense anymore. So it's good that you illustrate this and spell it out for them. Mm-hmm. So I guess the kind of last area that we want to get to is to ask, so once they've gone through the interview process and they're there, and you kind of talked a little bit about this along the way, we've touched on it, but what do you expect, how do you expect people to handle themselves in the professional environment? So it's one thing to get the job, but then it's one thing to present yourself there. What recommendations would you have, or what do you expect of your coworkers and your employees?
So before talk about this, it's something you had to remember. Don't lie in your interview, because that will be you setting your own trap yourself. Because if you present to as a certain kind of person, but you actually not, when you come into actual start working, then you feel, oh crap, So you really don't want to go there, right? If you being who you are as what you say, usually you will be fine. Of course, again, do not be late. Do not be late.
Yeah, if you got students waiting,
it's very interesting that people being late. This thing, it just really is very bothering me, especially. And teachers sometimes they will call. I mean, not all the time, but we used to have a teacher like is frequently late, and even eventually I had to let her go. Yeah. Exactly the reason, right? Be respectful to the for the parents as well. So come in. You need to schedule yourself. Not exactly on time. On time is being late. If you
that's one of the common things to say. If you're on time, you're already late.
Right. Why? Because when you come in, you rushing. Are you gonna sit down right at the moment and start teaching your student? Give yourself a little break. Give yourself 10 minutes. Yeah. You need to go to the bathroom maybe, or calm yourself down. Get some water, and your student maybe is there already. That's fine. You can start early if you want to. If you don't want to start, tell your student. Give me a few minutes. That's fine. They can wait, right? But if you are late, if you're exactly on time,
I don't think it's unreasonable for somebody to be like, oh yeah, you're here 5 minutes early. Well, okay, cool. We're gonna get started right on time, just as always.
Yeah.
Why would it be expected that because both people are early that it's gonna go? That doesn't make any sense. So.
Right. I mean,
you can, but it doesn't make any sense to have that be the
premise. It's all that. Then it's your choice. But because I want to make that clear is because it happened before. Is a lot of time maybe let's say the nanny take the kids to the class, but maybe it's the mom pick up the kid. Let's say for example, so the nanny drop off the kid 10 minutes earlier. The teacher start the lesson 5 minutes earlier, and the teacher assuming it will finish the lesson 5 minutes earlier too, right? Yeah. So the parents say, why are we finish lesson 5 minutes earlier?
Yeah.
So. To be clear, if it happened into my school before, Okay, there's few times in what happened. So this is why I told my teacher, if that happens, if you're gonna be early, say it out loud. Do you want to start early? It's 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes early. You want to start right now? Say it out loud.
Yeah.
Whoever the adult is there, it can be nanny, can be mom, can be someone, or maybe even a kid, right? You can make it clear. That is something. It's not. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happened few times that in the past that we had parents complain to me about the teacher cutting the lesson short. Okay, but then I noticed because they start lesson early.
Yeah. Right.
So but for a bit for my end, it is almost a little something. If I told the parents, say, oh, because they start lesson 5 minutes earlier, it sounds like an argument. It sounds like, you know.
It doesn't sound good. Yeah.
Right. So my response is, although I know they start earlier, this is how I would say to the parents, I will talk to the teacher. Maybe they start earlier. Okay? Then I will tell the teacher, say, I know you start early, but say it out loud.
Yeah. No.
Okay? Say it out loud. Or literally just wait till the time. Just wait till the clock.
That's probably the easiest way.
Okay? So that would be something that for the teaching, sometimes personally, I never run into for my students. So that is in a way that's something new that I had to deal with sometimes recently. So don't be late. The time management definitely. Again, go back to the same thing. Dress appropriately. You don't have to dress up super nice, but you do not. It doesn't have. It didn't really happen, but it kind of. I know. One time, because there are days sometimes I'm not teaching, but the school is running. Okay.
Yeah.
It happened a while ago, a long time ago, actually.
If you're talking about a day that you're not actually in the office because you have something else, so
right,
and they take advantage or something.
Yes, and you never know when I'm gonna show up.
Yeah.
Right. So I just happened. I forgot something in the office. I need to stop by, and I went to the school, and the teacher at the time, she's not here anymore. The teacher at the time, she came out. She has a completely workout outfit on, and I can tell that she worked out, but she didn't
shower,
clean.
Didn't do any of that. So that's pretty gross.
Right, and
especially go sit in a room with somebody all that.
Yeah, and I looked at her. I'm not quite sure if she gets it. I looked at her.
You did that?
Yeah,
I
did. I didn't do that intentionally. I just looked at. I was shocked.
Yeah.
And she was surprised too. She saw me. She said, "Oh, I didn't know you're gonna be here." I said, "Surprise!" You know, being me and being very passive aggressive. I was pissed.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna tell you I'm pissed. You know. And I looked at her, and I'm thinking, well, you guys must work out very hard inside there. I mean, I looked at the students, and then she looked at me. She like the kids like this, right? And then the teacher really quick. I think she just needed to grab a book, and she really quick got into the classroom. And I had to go. I mean, it would just happen. I need to. I just stayed there for 5 minutes. You know, I was not even gonna stay longer. I looked at my assistant like that. I said, "It happened before," and I forgot. I think, yeah, and then I think he says, yeah, I say, you need to tell me about this. This is not okay.
Well, I could see him not doing that because, you know,
he doesn't,
you want to have the camaraderie with it, you know, but...
Right, I said, no, that's not okay.
It's funny, though, you know, one of the things they tell you in the military, right place, right time, in the right uniform.
Yeah, yeah.
If you do those three things, you'll be successful in the military.
And just be honest. The parents will actually spending extra money and effort to put a kid in piano lesson. I'm not talking about anything else, not other thing that is required from the school or whatever, but for the piano lesson, because first it's not cheap.
No.
Okay, I mean our tuition is not terrible. I mean, it's compared to other places, I'm very reasonable already, but still, even so, that is not most people can afford, be honest, right? Or even want to make that become available for their kids. So for the parents actually willing to put the kids in piano lesson, they have a standard, they have an expectation.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, let's face it. If you're spending money on something, you want the best that your money gets. Whatever it is, whether it's dinner, whether it's a new TV, whether it's a car, whether it's education.
How would you want to be served, or how would you want to be taught, right? If you are a teacher, gonna show up like that, what would you think?
Yeah, well,
I mean, seriously, what would you think?
Well, it's funny because it's like, and you mentioned about being on time, so, I teach down in Orange County. I do in-home lessons down there. It's 41 miles away. I sit here every day that I'm going to go down there. I check out no matter what, it's generally an hour to an hour 15 minutes to get down there. I always leave 2 hours early because I don't know what's going to happen within that time.
Yeah.
And it's not on them to say, I could be like, oh, traffic. They don't give a shit. They don't care. And they have no reason to care about what my problems are.
Right.
All they know is they have their life going on, and they paid for this specific window of time to have this specific thing taken care of professionally. So now, anything that deviates from that is unprofessional by definition.
Yeah, and I had a teacher actually give me the reaction about being late. He said, I didn't cut their time short. If I'm 5 minutes late, I give them the 5 minutes. Yeah, that means that you also push
everybody
them.
Else after
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Not only that, a lot of parents actually have their kids scheduled very back to back.
Yeah.
Right? So really be considerate.
A lot of times they'll be picking up their kid here to go pick up another kid here who has to wait, and they can't be sitting there for that extra 5 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, so really just be very, very, but be respectful. That be respectful. It will cover a lot of things. Be respectful of for the time. Be respectful how you speak to the parents, how you talk to the parents, how do you talk to the kids. What would you want to be taught? That was it. How would you want to be react? If your teacher gonna show up like that, if your teacher gonna be always 5 minutes late, what would you feel? Right? It's exactly the same thing.
I'll even one up that because I think there's a lot of people. They talk about how people are more willing to make their pets take medication than they are to take medication themselves. Really, people don't care too much about themselves. So what I would say is, how would you want it to be for your kids?
Yeah.
Forget about you. If you had your kids that you were paying to put them in there, what would you expect?
Yeah.
What standard would you hold yourself to in that case then?
Exactly. And I'm not saying like we're doing this as such some kind of a safe world kind of job, but no, it was just a simplified human being kind of respectful to each other. Yeah. Not only that, kids are gonna remember. I remember my first piano teacher. I remember all my piano teachers. I remember exactly how it is. So if that's how you're gonna be remembered, okay, that was
Well, we each create our own realities. So
right.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming out and sharing this insight. I think it'll be beneficial to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So a couple things. So first of all, if anybody wants to come study under you, how do they find you? It's the Pasadena Piano
Academy. Yes.
And do you have a website?
Yeah, PasadenaPianoAcademy.com.
Bam! There it is.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, I think musician, we really have a lot of choice. So if I want to emphasize one thing about teaching. A lot of time I run into people I know that they teach because they pay the bills. Try not to do that. Really, even if you don't think you can be a professional or full-time performing, there are other things. There are management that you can do. There are maybe maybe more marketing things that you can do with
digital
like
media now. There's a ton of stuff. There's no reason anybody needs to be pigeonholed into feeling like they need to teach.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I only think you should do it if you really want to be doing it.
Really, and not only that, I take up this for a specific reason. I knew I wanted to be a teacher when I was 13. I knew I maybe even younger. So I feel, and I know, I mean, thanks to my teachers, and they really reminded me how important this job will be, and for me to one day to take over. So I feel it is our duty to teach, to give a better and healthier generation, next generation in music education. So if you feel like you're only doing this for paying the bill or whatever it is, it's okay, but still put some thought into it, put some respect into it. That's also a reason why I think it's important to have musicians to help each other. You know, that's why I thought this is a very, very good. You interview a lot of people and have a different perspective of different things, and the idea of musicians help each other. That's the next thing I think my personal goal that I really want to move forward in for something that I can achieve. Not just teaching, but something else as well. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm a huge advocate of it. I think people should only do the things that they want to do in life.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should do something that hinders somebody else or takes away from somebody else. But yeah. You're going to waste your life if you're chasing things that aren't going to make you happy anyway.
Absolutely.
So yeah, if you want to teach and you want to do it, great.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's so many other ways of making money in music. There's so many other things that aren't music, and you can just have music as a hobby if you want to. There's some.
Yeah. And another thing is, I think it is not easy to have a career in full time as a musician. Mm-hmm. No matter what you do, you can be teaching, you can be doing anything else. I mean, this is a quite a big industry, but it's a small industry as well, the marketing and stuff like that. So when you look into this, it's something that I think we should all appreciate each other. And I've heard that a lot as a foreigner. I've heard that a lot of people say, "Oh, you're lucky. You're just very lucky. You get all those opportunities and all that." Maybe I'm lucky, but I also work very hard.
Yeah.
And
well, it's a thing. It's like, I don't want to get too much into it because it's a whole other thing. But yeah, it's like anybody can be presented with opportunities. If you don't have something amazing to show when you have the opportunity, it can be squandered.
Yeah.
So, to be, you got lucky with that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you got lucky with that window of opportunity. Right. But when they were looking through the window, you showed people something that was worth having.
Exactly.
Worth following, a path worth undergoing.
And most people, most management, most of HR will actually prefer to hire a person who is more willing than more qualified. If I have two person and I have only one position, one person maybe is everything is ready, but this person can be very like I'm not very interested, not very into it. The other person maybe not as ready, but is very willing. Personally, I think I'll give that person a chance. Yeah. Just because a lot of skill can be taught and can be learned.
Not to mention that person can grow with you. If the person's already has a mindset that's, for lack of a better way of putting it, closed-minded. Yes. I already know what there is to know here. You're probably not going to have as much forward movement and growth with them as somebody who's more willing to talk with you, more sociable, more charismatic, and just more willing to be flexible.
Yeah. I joke about this with my assistant just a few days ago, that when I was hiring the front desk assistant, same thing, same idea. I get down to 3 person. I really struggled, and I think all 3 of them are pretty good, and I know they're going to all do a very good job. And I end up choosing her, and then she was ha ha ha, right? Yeah. And I told her, you know why I pick you? And then she said, why? I say, because you're funny, and you get my joke. And that was it, because I have to work side by side with her almost every day.
And charisma goes along,
right? And if you are very uptight, or if you're like, I'm not sure if I want. I mean, because this is a small office. If you work in an office with 1,000 people, you probably don't care.
It's amazing anybody ever does any work with me or has ever hired me for anything ever with my attitude.
Really? I don't know. So I feel like it is something that but I think it's something that keeping in mind. We are musicians, but we can be charming too. You know, you also use that. You know, don't be shy and don't feel like you have to fit in certain kind of maybe stereotype or whatever it is. You know, be who you are, and maybe this particular position is not for you, but maybe not next one, but you will be who you are, so you will enjoy that position as well.
Well, I think I totally agree, and I think we'll finish on the note that know who you are.
Yeah.
Follow your path and do it because you want to.
Yes.
Nothing else really matters ultimately.
Yes.
Other than trying to follow the path that makes the most sense to you, that's going to lead to the ultimate happiness.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to fail on that path.
Perfect.
And,
I think so too. Yeah.
And I don't think that's just my opinion. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Vivian, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
We'll check all you guys next episode. Y'all take care.
Thanks. Okay.